Everybody on the call agreed to this being recorded.
Yes, I guess if we have to speak it.
So, couple things. There's another place where that is.
Go to inventory and go to parts of the order point update.
That's where I was looking for you. I always think it's under somewhere else.
That's bid price. Go down right down there. One more right there.
We have multiple bid price, and reorder. So these three will allow you to mass change. Okay. So when I first talk about this, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, let's pick a different part. Something, I don't know, like some kind of a filter.
I typically try to do what you're doing at the same time too. So
Okay.
if I miss a step or something, I may ask you to back up a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So let's pick an air filter here, for instance. We have a trigger point, a safety point, and then on the vendor, we have the target point. Okay? The target point. So this is where, when we built the Delphi product in 1999, instead of using min-max, we use these words target and trigger and safety.
Okay.
So also, we've added a whole bunch of other stuff too in here, like enforced shipment quantity, roundup quantity. You've got price. This is what's going to go on the PO for that vendor.
Okay.
But we also do bid pricing. So with a bid end date, bid number, bid PO number, and all this kind of thing. For a lot of government entities, we'll actually do bid pricing, and the prices are set for, all headlights or, whatever they sell them. And those prices don't change for a 2-year, 3-year contract or whatever.
Sure.
So you can actually lock the system down where they cannot buy them for any different price than what's on the bid price.
Okay.
So just know that there's a lot of other things besides just min-max, okay?
Sure.
So you would set your max as your target point. So let's set that to 12.
I've tried all kind of shit too.
And
I put it on my phone, but it's 38 minutes long. So I'm doing screen record right now.
What is it?
I'm trying to trick the fucking
What about that laptop up there?
I've opened up one of the part lines in my shop that I suspect I'll want to do this to, and it's just a trailer brake drum. But so I'm kind of trying to mirror what you're doing on my end with that.
Okay. So yeah, you just have to put in a target point. And then on the definition tab, you will put in a trigger point. I'm going to make my trigger point, 1. So when I get down to 1, because I've got 2 on hand right here.
Okay.
So when I get down to 1, I'm going to make my trigger point 3, because I'm already down to 2. So that should be below my trigger point. So when my on-hand quantity gets below the trigger point, it will order quantity on hand. It will order target point minus quantity on hand plus quantity on order.
Right.
Basically, it's going to get you back up to your max.
Sure. Okay.
Now, this is if you use the on-hand reorder formula, which is what we recommend. If you replace the safety point with any value other than 0, let's just say I do 6, it will order 12 minus 6 every time, no matter what. As soon as you reach your trigger point, it will order target minus safety, period. Really good for doing box quantity ordering, things like that. So if they always come in 12, you can set your trigger point to whatever, and it'll order a case every time you get down to your trigger point. So really, really good thing to know. Now, the reason we have safety point is it was really designed for you to be able to calculates your lead time and all this. And so when my trigger gets down to so far, I want to order target minus safety because my safety point has been calculated. So I know exactly, what my lead time is. So I always have the minimum on hand. Well, the problem with that is, number one, we don't calculate it for you. Number two, we don't update it automatically. Number three, that's a hell of a lot of work to do for somebody.
Sure.
So I don't ever recommend trying to use Safety Point for anything else but box quantity ordering.
Right. Okay.
So if this is anything but zero, it will always order target minus safety. If it's zero, it will order target minus on hand plus on order. So in this case, since I'm below my trigger, it should order 10
Gotcha.
for this part. And I'll just hit save there, get rid of that, hit save. Now, that being said, there are some reports that will give you turns and some things like that, or usage and stuff like that. So if you want to come into the parts reorder point,
I got it on me, Anthony.
you can
Okay.
come in here and do, shop
2
one.
days in a row, I heard fucking just wide open spin the tire go.
And you can pick a vendor or a part type.
I've
Right,
heard
so you
them
can
do it
maybe
before,
say,
and I said
my
to
standard parts,
stop doing
and
that.
then I can hit
You're
search.
you just stop
So
doing
how
that.
do you add a line to this
I said
page?
something to him yesterday.
I don't see
you-
a.
He gets frustrated.
This is just where you're going to mass update
Blood nut's not coming off.
all
And I
your
was like,
orders,
if you want to leave
Right.
all your fucking
Okay,
all of your
you need
parts
to
that
stop
are
doing
already
that.
built.
So each of these lines is something that's already been set up elsewhere in the system.
Correct. This is a
You're gonna have to
mud
sell
flat
that.
bracket that's in shop one, and you've got zero on hand. Your trigger point set to 5. Your target point set to 2, which that'll
Hmm.
when you get down to 5, it's going to order 2. So that's ridiculous. Okay, and it says your last 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months usage. So this is really good because you can come in here and filter your parts, and you could then sort it by last 12 months usage. Now, again, you're going to have a hell of a lot more values in here than I am. Or if you go in here to 3 months and look at the last 3 months usage, I don't have any, because I just don't use this demo database very often. But then you could come in and say, okay, well, I'm using 3 months and I got 30. I'm using 12 a month here. Okay.
Right.
So, and then what you can do is you can multi-select these things, however you want to filter it or whatever, and then you hit edit. And then you can set the target and trigger point here at the bottom, and it also says make vendor primary, right? So you have a primary vendor if it's not the primary vendor, and these are all primary vendors. But you could make it primary vendor because the auto requisition system only uses the primary vendor to auto requisition.
Yep, that makes sense.
So I could set all these to trigger at 1 and target to 12 and hit OK. And now it's going to update all of those parts that I just did. So now, in other words, you could do this en masse. And you can filter these things, where starts with, filter.
Sure.
And then, this is going to be every filter in my system in shop one. You could say filter dash air and pull up all your air filters. And then you could say, okay, I want to select all these air filters. And I want to set all them, to the same trigger point, reorder point.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I can see some examples where that might be useful.
It's just making so you don't have to do each one at a time. It's
Sure.
also a good place to see where you are. Hey, we're not using this part much anymore. We're keeping them on the shelf. Let's lower the target point to 0 so that they stop reordering them, or lower it down to a lower value because we're only using 3 a quarter, or something like that.
Right.
So that's what this page is about. Now, what it does for you is you have to come in here. Now, it used to be shop was required, but it's not. You'll come in here once a week, twice a week, whatever your stock standardized part reordering, right? This keeps you from ordering parts all fucking day long, for filters and belts and hoses and clamps and things that you should be keeping in the building, which is slowing down your repairs, right?
Sure.
And then you could pick a vendor, and you could also pick a part type, and you could hit refresh the grids. Now, when you do, this is going to come back. Now, these are manual requisitions that come from TTP. The mechanics. Hey, we need this part. We need this part. These are manual requisitions that you need something and you add it, but you want to wait until your weekly reorder to actually reorder it. You don't want to do it just one off.
Okay.
And you can add manual records. All this down below here is the auto requisition stuff that is using the min-max.
Right.
Now, what I could do is, like I said, I could come in here and say, well, I only want to see one vendor. And then I could hit refresh grids. And it's only going to show me that one vendor.
Okay.
And then I can hit, I could look at my manual requisitions. And if it's big, see, mine's on the screen, but yours might be 3 pages long. You can hit report, and this will pop up. It takes a minute to start SSRS because I haven't run a report today. This will pull up the manual requisition report. You can print it or email it, and then if you close that, pop-up block. I blocked a pop-up. It would have popped up the other report. Hang on, let me just do it again. Yeah, and here's the other report for the other 4 parts. So if you want to look at it and mark it up or whatever, then once you go, okay, that's what I need to order, see it pulled up both reports there. I could also come back in here and go, you know what? I'm not just going to order one of those fuel pumps because we've been going through those lately. That's probably a bad example, but I'm going to go ahead and order 2. Even though my auto requisition said to order 1, you can always override the automated requisition, even the manual. You can override these if you want to.
Right.
Now all I have to do is hit. You could say print PO on creation, right? So that'll print it out. And then all I have to do is hit select all. Where's my select all? Yep, select all.
Mm-hmm.
And then create purchase order. Now, if I hit print PO on creation, as soon as I hit create PO, it's going to create a PO for every vendor that you have selected. In this case, I only have one vendor. It'll put all the parts on one PO for that vendor. And then here's the other thing. You could do this by shop. You could order all. See, this one's for shop 2. So it's going to create a separate purchase order for shop 2 for that same vendor.
Okay.
Of course, he's going to drop ship it to that shop, not shop 1. So if you leave shop blank, you can actually order it for any shop.
Okay.
And, that gives you a little more purchase power if you're ordering more parts from that vendor, and you're not just ordering shop at a time. You can say, hey, listen, all my shops are using you, and, I need a better rate, or whatever.
So there's 2 different directions that they can come into this page from. One is the manual requisition that would come from the TTP, and then the second one is the one on your triggers and your safeties and your preset points. But and I'm not actually familiar with how the technicians do it from the TTP because that's not functionality that we've used before.
Okay, well, in the TTP, get in there real quick. When you're on a repair order, let me just log into this tire job. I can actually request parts. Okay, which one is it, Jim?
Up there.
That one? Yeah. Request by, I can request it by description, part number, component code.
Okay.
And this tells you This one will show this one. This one will show you the parts that are on order and what the status is, right? So the mechanic can see if they've cut a PO yet, if it's been received and already back in the parts room. Okay.
So,
I can-
how would the shop manager, is there a way that they're notified that a technician requested one or something?
Correct. So let me go in here and I'll hit description, and I'll say, a steer tire, and I need 2. Okay, and he hits OK. All right. So now if I come in here, I can go part. I don't like the way that works. Parts on order, and it shows that I've requested the part. Okay. Now, if you come over here to the shop program, we have another product called Parts Workstation. It also works in conjunction with TTP, and I can see that somebody's requested 2 parts.
Okay.
Now, if I go to the requisition system and I refresh this page, it'll also be in here. Oh, no, I guess it won't. Oh, he has to add it to the he has to actions, open part request, and then you can come in here and he can do actions, and he can bill requests.
So if he don't have it in stock, he can order it, and that goes to requisition.
I'm trying to find out where is that action item. Look up part, delete request, fill request, add part with assignment, fill all requests. I think we hit fill request. So you go find let's see if I even have a steer tire. So there's just no steer tire in my inventory because he did it from description, right?
Right.
So let me just find a tire here. Okay, it's because I need 2 of them. Oh, damn it. This is going to be...
The tire module stuff.
Yeah, this is tire... Sorry. This is tire module stuff. I should have... But anyway, if you fill the part and you don't have enough quantity on hand, a little box will pop up and say, hey, you want to put this on the requisition list? And you go, yes.
Okay.
And then once he knows it's on the requisition list and he's worked all of these requests from the mechanics, it'll show up here on the requisition list and he can order it.
Okay.
So the nice thing about the part request is you leave the screen up. Again, it's designed for a closed parts room, but you can use it in an open parts room where mechanics just say, hey, here, we're out of this, we need this. Then the shop foreman or the lead mechanic or whoever can monitor that parts workstation and either fill the part, right? Of course, the mechanic is going to get his own part if you're open, so it's never going to be a requisition unless you actually need to order it, right?
Right.
If it's a closed parts room, he's going to fill it and put it on the window.
Well, so the example for me in our typical operations here in our Ocala shop would be more centered around a guy letting me know that we're getting low on something and we're going to be needing a replenishment. So it wouldn't necessarily be attached to a repair order, although he could transfer that information from within any repair order, correct?
Well, the problem is if he orders it from here, it's going to be tied to that order. And when you receive that PO, it's going to charge it out directly to the order.
Okay.
Direct
Okay.
order.
Of course, there's those circumstances that are going to happen just like that, but the bulk of what we're trying to accomplish with the min-max restrictions for shops, maybe is a good way to say it, is going to more come from replenishments than from bill direct.
It is, absolutely. I just was showing you that the mechanics can request parts. We have a parts workstation program that, again, is designed for a closed parts room, but it also works for customers that have open parts room. It just means the mechanic needs a part you don't have. The good part about that is when you figure out what part it is, even if you don't stock it, you can add the part to the catalog and all that and order it. And when it comes in, it charges it directly out to the repair order. And they can't close the repair order because it tells them, hey, parts are on order.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's a really good way to manage your,
I think I've done that by accident before.
But yeah, your basic min max is going to be, target and trigger points. You can edit those in mass in this product here in the reorder point parts reorder point sheet. Because it gives you the nice, 3, 6, and 12 months on there.
Mhm.
It helps you kind of set it up from the beginning, and you can do it by different parts, different part types. The search doesn't have a whole lot in it, but what it does give you down here is you can always filter by all of these things, right? Bin location, part type, all these things can, vendor. You can always sort them by anything on this column.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably where I need to start if I'm going to test this in our shop here and go determine where our biggest movers are, and of that group, select what makes the most sense.
Exactly. I just wanted to show you the TTP piece that's kind of tied
Yeah.
to the parts workstation. It's just something a lot of people don't know exists, and it might help you manage shops and parts purchased for individual repair orders.
Well, they still could communicate that they want to do a replenish order from here, and you would get the message in the parts workstation, and you could just delete that manual requisition.
Correct. You could come in here and I can actions and I can say delete request, and if I say okay, it's a goner. Now you need to know you got to go
Looking for it.
put in a manual. You need to come over here and either do a manual or cut a PO to buy it, right?
Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but how does the vendor know that you're about your PO?
So what you do is when you you hit select all and you hit create PO, you print the PO on creation. It'll print the PO and you just email it to him. So here's my
Okay.
order.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why we do the print. That's why we do the print PO. Because let me just deselect all, and then I'm just going to select this one because I want to have stuff to show here. If I hit create PO, see it comes up and prints it, and then I just hit email, and I email it to vendor.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I've
Did you-
already put Truck Pro on notice that they're going to be the test dummy on this one. So.
And then what you do is you put down on here, whatever statement you want. This is a pre-defined statement that you can make. Usually I say, you can say whatever you want, but this is the pricing that we have agreed upon, or you can say my PO number must be on your invoice when you deliver the parts, or I need a priced packing slip on
Right.
delivery and all that kind of, whatever
Sure.
you want to say, you can make that say it on every PO.
So, and I'm assuming that's in system setup or some.
Yeah, where is that one at, Jim? You remember? It's
Send messages down to order setup.
standard messages right here.
Yep.
So you come in here, and we got standard messages on quite a few things. Then you come to here's a purchase order, standard message.
All right. Yeah, some of these pages I've seen before and then got out of them real quick because I didn't know what I was doing.
But yeah, you can put on, you can even do it by shop or all. But you
Okay.
can say, price packing slip must accompany the shipment to all shops, and your final invoice must have our purchase order number on it, or you will not be paid.
Or please reach out to us for additional POs if stuff's on back order, that kind of thing. 'Cause-
yeah, or we don't accept back orders, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Please call us for another PO for back orders, or whatever you wanted to say. And you could do it by shop. You can't do it by vendor. It's pretty much by shop
Right. Right.
or all.
Okay. Well, it's got my work cut out for me, it sounds like. So
Yeah,
we're,
I think you're 100% correct. You come in here to the, this is going to give you the best information of your usage, and you could start with, high usage parts,
right.
filters, lights, bulbs,
So my other concern is you mentioned open and close shop, and sort of maybe a situation where you had like a parts clerk working that parts workstation thing or whatever, whereas we're kind of one man shows. Already we're running with repair order listings open, purchase order listings open, inspection tickets open. This is going to add a fourth tab depending on how much work we're doing in it. My counterparts are the ones I'm concerned about, and I'm typically the guy that shakes it down and says, yes, they're going to do it, or no, they're not. You know what I mean? So I'll have
It could be a combination.
Right.
It could be a combination, right? It could be your larger shops. You actually could get, the catch is worth the chase. The
Sure.
smaller shops might not be worth it. He could probably go over and add a manual requisition in TMT just as fast as he could go into TMT and order a part for a repair work.
Right. But the other piece of it is the whole stewardship thing. So, from a corporate perspective, if we don't want Kevin Parks to have, 30 steer tires, and we put a max on that thing, 12 or whatever, that kind of shows the stewardship thing. So I think there's some value. It's just a matter of shaking out and see what we will and won't use and how we'll use it. So as is most things within the system, I'm sure you hear that
Exactly.
quite a bit. So.
No, exactly. And that's, quite frankly, that's what you have to decide.
Right.
All I can do is show you all the different options that we have and,
Sure.
Tell you best practices or what, that kind of thing from what we understand. But yeah, no, it's ultimately your choice and your rollout, right?
Okay. Well, it doesn't look like a whole lot of rocket science. I don't know how much time you guys